Dr. Markus Braun fooled the entire German population of 85 million inhabitants. This story is so incredible that it's almost hard to believe. We are talking about the Wirecard fraud that was unfolded in 2020. Wirecard was valued to be 20 billion euros at its top and went bankrupt after 1.9 billion euros suddenly disappeared from the Wirecard balance. The doctor stands trial in Germany right now. He claims he didn't know, that he is also a victim of this fraud. The doctor title earned by Markus Braun after getting a commercial degree in commercial computer science. Let's start with explaining with what Wirecard's business was about. Founded in Germany in 1999, Wirecard was a payment processor company that quickly rose to fame and popularity as the country's biggest business in modern times. Germany's businesses are more traditional, like automakers and energy companies. There are very few tech companies of recognizable size when it comes to revenue and profit. There are no Google and Facebook-alike companies in Germany. Germany's most known businesses are businesses like Siemens, Volkswagen, Daimler, and BMW. It was, therefore, an ideal opportunity for all when Wirecard started to grow as the next financial technology alternative. The CEO, Markus Braun, carried himself in the utmost tech firm fashion, dressing in a black turtleneck like Steve Jobs himself. And the overall situation of the market enabled Wirecard to become a staple name gradually. With an almost meteoric rise, the company overtook Deutsche Bank in total worth, with an overall figure of over 20 billion euros. Opening itself to the share market, Wirecard also succeeded massively in this space, and the German government too was immensely proud of its new fintech giants. The easy way to explain Wirecard's operation is that they were the German PayPal. Their strategy was to make payments digital, and they had their own technology and payment machines to achieve this. Wirecard became a stock favorite in the market, and the market cap raised rapidly. Wirecard's biggest market was in Asia, and they were reporting large revenue streams from Asia. The English newspaper Financial Times, with their reporter Dan McCrum, started to look into the company. He discovered that it seemed like the company was only acquiring more customers by buying smaller companies in Asia. This in itself seemed like a shady practice for a company of that size. This finding could suggest that it was basically a money laundering operation. The journalist got in touch with Braun himself over a telephone interview, and the CEO denied any wrongdoing. Markus Braun's response was that this was just slander for short sellers that wanted to hurt the company so that the stock price would go down. His belief was that these individuals who profit when a company loses value in share market wanted the same for Wirecard and were trying to think of their own profits. McCrum wasn't convinced, and one day he received a call from Singapore about Wirecard. It was from a former legal director that lost his job in the company when he started asking questions about what he thought was wrongful accounting. At first, he was told that the head office would look into his claim. That didn't happen. Instead, he got fired. The ex-legal director provided McCrum with tons of documents about Wirecard's business operations. After Dan McCrum's second article about Wirecard, the company reacted through a letter sent by their lawyer to the Financial Times. Wirecard made claims that McCrum was working with short sellers for his own financial gain. McCrum also felt that he was suddenly being followed around, and a person spying around the Financial Times office was also spotted. These articles didn't set Wirecard back. They kept going strong, and they even released their prepaid cards to the American market. It was doing great business for the German stock exchange, and Wirecard was soon placed in the DAX index, which holds the 40 biggest companies in the German stock exchange. Despite this immense growth in numbers and popularity, There was always something off with Wirecard, as allegations of hacking and information gathering had now started to make their rounds in certain parts of the world. 3 major banks in Asia made 50% of Wirecard's total revenue. When Financial Times actually tried to visit the banks, they were shocked. One of the addresses where there should have been a big bank, they found a bus company. The other addresses led them only to small villages and certainly not facilities for big banks. No governments or other newspapers would react, Financial Times thought. But despite these findings and picture evidence, the German government didn't do anything. Instead, they got BaFin, who is the Federal Financial Supervisory Authority in Germany, to ban the opportunity to short-sell Wirecard stocks. Also, Angela Merkel, the mighty leader for Germany, promoted the company and didn't think these allegations from the newspapers were legit. The journalists Dan McCrum and Stefania Palma, who had covered the case, were made the targets. They were suspended from their jobs, and Financial Times started an investigation into allegations made against journalists from Wirecard. The investigation showed that the allegations against the journalists were groundless. It was time for payback. The journalists exposed everything they had collected about Wirecard. Especially, they focused on the material they had gotten from the sacked legal director in Singapore. In a long piece of article, it was revealed how Wirecard had basically been a money laundering program for Germany gangs and rich individuals, and the names of companies it mentioned as partners did not really exist, or at least did not exist in the capacity that it was claimed. They were also apparently holding on to user data collected from cards and were regularly avoiding audits and regulations. Although Braun maintained that the Financial Times was only tainting the company's image, an external audit was started by KPMG, and this ultimately led to its downfall. The auditors found a whopping 1.9 billion euros missing from the records. As 2 banks in Philippines that Wirecard claimed to have stored that money in responded that they had no business relations whatsoever with Wirecard. All documents related to this money was fake and forged, and Wirecard could not be saved any longer. The auditor EY refuses, of course, to sign the 2019 accounts. For almost 2 months, Markus Braun tries to reconvince the auditor EY to sign. 25th June 2020, Wirecard was bankrupt, and CEO Markus Braun and 2 other executives were arrested. Many people believe another Austrian, Jan Marsalek, the company's chief operating officer, was the architect for the fraud. Jan Marsalek had close ties to Russia and Libyan intelligence officers. There are many proofs that Marsalek was the one that authorized different transactions. Did he do it by his own initiative, or was he instructed by his mentor Markus Braun? No one can question Jan Marsalek because he entered a private fly and escaped prosecution in Germany. It is believed that he now hides out in Russia. The investigation of Marsalek has shown that he spent more than 60 days in Russia since 2015. Could he have been a Russian spy? Is Markus Braun set up to take fall for someone else? The first allegations against his company surfaced in 2016. In January 2019, Financial Times with Dan McCrum started to write about suspicious business operation in the company. Markus Braun has since 2016 claimed that Wirecard is legit and all allegations are false. It's almost unlikely for companies to start a war against a newspaper. Wirecard sued, spied, tried to bribe, and threatened Financial Times and their employees. I think everyone thinks it's strange that he, as CEO, didn't investigate these allegations. The only reason for not doing so must be that he knew the allegations were true. There is one thing that is really strange. Just weeks before the collapse of Wirecard, the good Dr. Markus Braun bought shares in the Wirecard. The really strange thing is that he mortgaged his real estate, in which his own family lived. He knew by this point that the company was going under because the auditor did not want to sign the 2019 accounts. The German courts are boring and slow. Markus Braun and 2 other former executives have been waiting trial since July 2020. Will they be acquitted, and maybe the blame will be put on the fugitive Jan Marsalek? What do you think? Is the good Dr. Markus Braun guilty, or is he a scapegoat for someone else? That was all for now. I hope to see you for the next video.